Igodo, the warrior of Umuaro. Long ago, in the time when the gods still walked among men and the forest whispered secrets to those who dared to listen, there was a village in the heart of Nigeria called Umuaro. Nestled between two great rivers and surrounded by thick, ancient forests, Umuaro was a land of peace, yam festivals, ancestral worship, and sacred traditions. But peace, as the elders say, is like the early morning dew, it disappears when the sun grows strong. In those days, the villagers of Umuaro lived in fear of the forest of Agbara, a dark, endless wood that loomed like a curse beyond their farms. Children were forbidden to go near it. Hunters spoke of shadows that followed them, of drums that beat without hands, and of eyes glowing like embers in the dark. Deep within that forest lay the tomb of Ezenwani Eluigwe, the sky priestess, a powerful sorceress who had once ruled the land until she was betrayed by her own blood and bound to the forest by the gods. Every year, the curse of Ezenwani demanded a price. A child from Umuaro would vanish, snatched by spirits during the night of the red moon, when the moon bled crimson and the wind carried strange chants. No one dared to defy it. No one until Igodo. The birth of a warrior. Igodo was born during a thunderstorm. His mother, a poor widow named Neka, had gone into labor just as lightning cracked the sky and the village shrine caught fire, an omen, the elders whispered, of a child born between worlds. From a young age, Igodo was different. He spoke to animals. He could predict rain by staring at the ants. He once healed a broken leg on a goat by whispering a prayer to the earth. The village priest, Dibia Okizi, said the boy had been touched by Amedioha, the god of thunder and justice. As Igodo grew, he became strong, wise, and brave. He learned the secret of the forest, listened to the spirits in his dreams, and mastered the ancient arts of the hunter and the warrior. But what made him beloved by his people was his heart. He loved Umuaro fiercely, as a man loves his mother. The call of destiny. When Igodo was 21, the red moon came again. This time, it took Obianuju, the daughter of the village chief and the last child of Umuaro's bloodline. Her wails echoed through the night as a whirlwind carried her into the forest of Agbara. The village fell into mourning, but Igodo rose in fury. No more, he cried before the elders and all the people. I will enter the forest and bring her back. I will face Ezenwani herself if I must. The chief wept and forbade him, but Igodo had already begun his preparations. Armed with his father's blade, an amulet from Dibia Okizi, and a heart full of courage, he stepped beyond the forbidden border. And the forest closed behind him. The journey through the forest was not one of sword and strength alone, it was a path of riddles, illusions, and ancient gods. At the entrance of the forest, the first trial was the river of mirrors, where Igodo saw visions of his fears, his mother dying, his people scorning him, Obianuju lost forever. But he closed his eyes and walked through, whispering a prayer to the God of truth. The second trial was the Valley of Bones, where the skeletons of past warriors rose to challenge him. But Igodo did not fight them. Instead, he offered them libations and sang the song of remembrance. The spirits bowed and parted. The third trial was the Tree of Lies, which promised him power, glory, even immortality, if he turned back and forgot Obianuju. Igodo spat on the roots and said, "A man who forgets his people is already dead." The tree screamed and vanished. As Igodo crossed into the forest of Agbara, he felt the air change. The sun above faded into twilight, and the trees grew impossibly tall, their roots thick like the arms of ancestral spirits. This was no ordinary forest. It was a realm between the living and the dead, a place where time bent, where gods whispered, and where many had entered, but none had returned. The path was invisible. The moment he stepped deeper into the forest closed behind him like a mouth swallowing food. But Igodo, armed with his blade, his amulet, and his resolve, pressed forward into the darkness. As he gets deeper in the forest, he reached a circular grove filled with giant talking trees. Their bark was covered in ancient runes, and as he stepped among them, the trees began whispering his deepest regrets and shames. You let your father die without vengeance. You wanted to abandon the village once. You are afraid you are not enough. The voices grew louder, echoing in his skull like thunder. But Igodo knelt in the center of the grove, dug into the earth with his fingers, and chanted the names of his ancestors. His father's name. His mother's name. The names of warriors who had come before. I walk with the truth of my spirit, he shouted. The grove went silent. The trees bowed their branches and opened a path. Next was the spirit market of midnight. Beyond the grove, he came to a clearing lit by a ghostly moon. There stood the spirit market, a strange bazaar run by spirits of the dead and forgotten. Vendors with eyeless faces offered him soul wine, bones that sang, and jewels made from weeping stars. A hunch trader with 6 arms whispered, "Trade your name, and we will show you the girl." Igodo was tempted, just a name, and he could know where Obianuju was. But he remembered what the Dibia had said, he who loses his name loses his destiny. Instead, he closed his eyes and prayed. The amulet on his neck glowed, and the spirit shrieked, shrinking away as the market burned into ash. As he got deeper, next before him was the river of shadows. He arrived at a river that looked like flowing ink. Across it stood a bridge made of spiderwebs and bones. The river whispered to him in many voices, some were his own. One voice said, "Step in, and you will see all your future failures." Another, "Cross, and your past will pull you back." When he stepped onto the bridge, shadow hands rose from the river, grabbing his ankles, pulling him down with the weight of every mistake he had made. But Igodo took the blade of his father, cut his palm, and offered his blood to the river. "Let my truth pay my passage." The river drank the blood, accepted the offering, and let him cross untouched. After many days, Igodo found himself in a place where the air was still and the trees were leafless. There, the forgotten warriors of Umaro wandered, eyes empty, bound in chains of silence. They had entered the forest generations ago to end the curse, and failed. One warrior with a cracked skull came close and whispered, "Speak our names, Igodo, and we shall be free." So Igodo sat and began to chant. Names from old tales, songs his mother sang, lines from war songs and burial chants. One by one, the warriors turned into light and vanished, leaving behind a single golden feather. This, a voice echoed, will call upon their strength when you need it most, and began to chant. Names from old tales, songs his mother sang, lines from war songs and burial chants. One by one, the warriors turned into light and vanished, leaving behind a single golden feather. This, a voice echoed, will call upon their strength when you need it most. He tucked it into his amulet pouch and moved on. The Garden of Memory Loss. Near the heart of the forest, Igodo found a beautiful, serene garden. Flowers of strange colors swayed, and the air was sweet with forgotten songs. He felt peace for the first time, but it was a trap. Each minute he stayed, he began forgetting who he was. First his name. Then his mission. Then his mother's face. Just before he could forget Obianuju, the amulet at his neck burned hot and he heard a faint voice. It was her voice, from a memory, "You are the one who never gives up." He roared and tore a root from the garden, causing the illusion to collapse. The sky above screamed like a broken drum, and the path to the sky priestess opened. The serpent of the sky gate. At the final gate, Igodo met the guardian, a massive serpent with wings made of smoke and eyes like burning coal. It was the beast that had swallowed time and watched the rise and fall of kings. "You are but clay," it hissed. "You cannot pass into the realm of gods." "I do not come to be a god," Igodo answered. "I come to save a child." The serpent coiled around him, testing him, trying to break his spirit. Then Igodo released the golden feather, and the light of the forgotten warriors blazed around him. The serpent shrieked, turned to stone, and the sky gate opened. Floating above a lake of fire. The priestess was not a hag as stories claimed, but a beautiful woman with eyes like storms. "You dare enter my realm, child of clay?" she asked. "I come for Obianuju." "Release her," Igodo said. The priestess laughed. "Do you think love can break a curse that blood and betrayal sealed?" But Igodo did not flinch. He offered her a deal, "Take me instead. Let the girl go. I will serve you 1,000 years." For a moment, silence reigned. Then the priestess wept. "No one has offered themselves for another since the gods turned their backs on men," she said. "Your sacrifice has broken the curse." With a wave of her hand, she freed Obianuju, restored the land, and release the trapped souls of children past. She touched Igodo's forehead and whispered, "Go, hero of Umuro. Your destiny lies not in chains, but in legend." But now, she had seen not just a brave man, but one who had resisted temptation, illusions, and death itself. She tested him with a final riddle, and he answered it not with words, but with willing sacrifice. This act shattered her ancient curse, freed Obianuju, and restored balance to Umuro. Igodo returned not as a boy or even a man, but as a legend. The forest, now silent and calm, no longer cursed the land but healed it. Strange flowers began to grow where he had walked. His name was carved into the shrine of heroes. Even the Dibia wept and said, "The gods will speak of Igodo for 1,000 seasons." And in the nights when the moon is red, elders still tell of how one man faced the impossible, met gods and monsters, and emerged with nothing but everything. After his return from the forest of Agbara, Igodo was celebrated as a savior. Obianuju was restored to her family, and the red moon no longer brought fear. The trees no longer whispered curses, and the crops grew lush and plentiful. Umuro flourished. The elders offered Igodo the title of Oba of Umuro, but he refused. "I am only a servant of the people," he said. Instead, he became the keeper of the sacred paths, guiding young warriors, preserving the wisdom of the gods, and ensuring the balance between the natural and spiritual realms. But peace, like dew, does not last long beneath the heat of destiny. A new omen. One night, 20 seasons after Igodo's return, the sky split with thunder. Not from the east, where Medioha reigned, but from the north, where no gods ruled. A second red moon rose, larger, bloodier, and burning with a strange symbol across its face, the sigil of the forgotten king, an ancient god exiled during the time of creation. The elders trembled, for this moon was not of Agbara or Ezanwani. This was something older and darker. At the same time, the sacred totem of the village, the staff of Ojiofo, which Igodo had placed in the shrine, split in half by itself. Chickens began laying eggs of ash. Children spoke in unknown tongues during sleep. And the forest, once peaceful, began to rot again from its edges. Something had returned. The council divided. Igodo summoned the council of elders and Dibia Okizi's son, now the high priest. But not all agreed on the course. One faction, led by Chief Udoka, accused Igodo of disturbing the balance. "You trespass the realm of gods, and now you have brought ruin to our door," he thundered. "The spirits demand your exile." Another faction, mostly the youth and warriors, defended Igodo. They believed the new moon was a threat that only he could face again. The village stood at the brink of civil war. But then, a child named Chisholm, barely 5 years old, spoke a prophecy in the voice of an ancient woman. "The hero who walked between worlds must walk again. The forest sleeps, but the sky has awakened. Blood must return to the earth, or the rivers will run dry." The prophecy was clear. Igodo's work was not finished. Journey beyond the sky gate. With heavy heart and older bones, Igodo returned to the forest of Agbara. But this time, it had changed. The trees were no longer rooted. They floated, suspended in midair, bleeding silver sap. Ghosts of children played and vanished. The sun and moon alternated every few moments. He followed a trail of dreams and found Ezenwani Eluigwe, now aged, her body bound in vines of gold. She was dying. "The sky is cracking," she whispered. "Something ancient has awoken beneath the stars. The forgotten king stirs in the realm beyond the sky. He seeks revenge, for it was I who once led the gods to banish him." She revealed the truth. Igodo had unknowingly broken the seal during his first journey by opening the sky gate. His sacrifice had lifted one curse but weakened another prison. "You must go beyond the sky. You must enter the world of the ancients." She gave him a final gift, a bone flute carved from the rib of a star dragon, an artifact that could open rifts between worlds. Then she crumbled into dust, her essence flowing into the wind. They climbed to the celestial realm. With his old blade, his amulet, and the bone flute, Igodo climbed the mountain of echoes, where the earth touches the sky. There, lightning danced like snakes, and the wind sang in languages long dead. After 3 nights and 3 riddles from the 3-headed hawk of Omima, Igodo played the flute. A portal tore open, spiraling light and stars. And he stepped into the celestial realm, a place where gravity bent, rivers flowed upward, and gods slept on floating thrones of obsidian. There he saw the forgotten king, bound in chains forged from human souls, eyes glowing with hatred. "You are the boy of clay," the king spat. "But you are no god." "I am not," Igodo replied. "But I am the will of my people." The battle that followed was not of spears or blades, but of spirit against spirit. The forgotten king summoned illusions of Igodo's failures, of Umuaro in flames, of his mother calling for help. But Igodo had long mastered his mind. With each attack, he sang the songs of his people, their chants of harvest, of birth, of victory. The spirits of Umuaro echoed within him. At last, using the bone flute and his amulet, he cast a final chant, a song of binding, passed from ancestor to ancestor. It sealed the forgotten king again, but at a price. Igodo's own spirit was caught in the rift. He was neither alive nor dead, neither mortal nor god. He became the guardian between worlds, watching both the celestial realm and Umuaro, ensuring that neither darkness nor pride ever again unbalanced the world. The Shrine of the Skywalker. In Umuaro today, they say when the red moon appears again, if you listen closely at the shrine on the hill, you will hear the low hum of a bone flute, and a voice saying, "Peace must be guarded. Not by swords, but by sacrifice." And sometimes, on moonless nights, warriors say they see a figure standing at the edge of the forest, tall, glowing faintly, with a blade on his back. Igodo. The man who walked through gods, fire, and memory, and never stopped walking. When a giant falls, the earth remembers, but who shall carry his shadow? Saying among the Dibia of Umuaro. The forgotten flame awakens. Many seasons had passed since Igodo vanished into the realm between worlds. A grand shrine had been built in his name, and every year during the festival of Mons, the people of Umuaro sang his songs, told his tale, and lit sky lanterns to guide his spirit. But heroes live more than legends. They leave seeds of truth, of power, of resistance. In secret corners of the village, 4 children born under the red moon began to show strange gifts. Nena, daughter of a weaver, could whisper to fire, and it would listen. Obina, a quiet boy born of no known parents, could walk into dreams and return with secrets. Ado, an orphan, could call wind with a single clap. And Chibik, the grandson of the late Dibia, could speak the ancient tongue of spirits without ever being taught. These were not normal children. They were marked by Igodo's sacrifice, chosen by the gods to face what was coming. The fire beneath the earth. Beneath Umuaro, in a long-forgotten cavern once sealed by the first elders, something stirred. A sky flame, the last shard of the forgotten king's soul, hidden in the deep earth. It had found a vessel, a bitter and power-hungry priest named Ikin, once a friend of Igodo, now twisted by envy. The flame promised him divine power, kingship over all the lands beyond Umuaro. With each passing day, Ikin's strength grew. He summoned shadows. He raised beasts. He poisoned the minds of chiefs, sowing doubt in the council. And soon, the night of black rain arrived, blood fell from the sky, animals cried in human voices, and a great crack opened in the earth near the shrine of Igodo. The final seal had been broken. The children answered the call. The 4 chosen children were led by dreams, each seeing visions of Igodo, bathed in skylight, saying the same words. The world does not need another me. It needs each of you, whole and unbroken. With the blessing of the elders, and despite protests from Chief Udoka's son, now a warlord. The children began their journey to find the 3 shards of light, relics once used by the gods to seal chaos during the Age of Origin. Their path took them to the cavern of time smoke, guarded by a blind lion who sees only truth. The floating islands of Imejo, where stars are born and fall like fruit. And the ruins of Ilugui's cry, where the gods once wept over the sins of humankind. Each child faced trials not of strength, but of identity. Nena had to face the spirit of a past self who had burned down a village in another life. Obina was trapped in a dream of perfect happiness, tempted to never return. Ado had to forgive the parents who abandoned her. Chibik had to speak the forbidden word of truth, even though it meant the death of his mentor. But in overcoming these trials, their powers matured, and their bond grew unbreakable. The return of the sky flame. When they returned, Ikin had declared himself High King of Umuaro, using the sky flame to enslave half the village. He had corrupted the shrine of Igodo, turning it into a throne of ash. But the children did not fear him. On the night of the triple eclipse, they stood at the center of Umuaro and combined their relics. A rift opened in the sky, and from it descended a being not entirely of flesh, Igodo, now the sky guardian, his body made of wind, light, and ancient earth. He did not fight for them. He only spoke. Let the balance be restored, not by me, but by you. The final battle was fought not with weapons, but song, ritual, and will. Fire danced, dreams exploded into memory, wind carved away the lies, and spirit speech shattered Ikin's grip. The sky flame was sealed, not destroyed, but entrusted to the children to guard. Legacy reborn. The children became the four pillars of Umuaro, not rulers, but guardians of wisdom. A new shrine was built. Not to Igodo, but to unity, sacrifice, and becoming. And sometimes, when the moon is red and the air is quiet, a soft voice drifts across the hills. Heroes are not born. They are made again and again. Whenever one chooses to rise. The end.